Welcome back to another episode of With a Grain of Salt. I am your host, Isaiah Salter, and I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in for yet another week. Truly grateful and blessed to be back in this space with you guys for another week of the With a Grain of Salt podcast. I don't know if it's up yet, but I just recently changed the podcast logo. When you click on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever it is, it has a picture of the podcast. I just switched that. So if you do see that, let me know if you guys like it. But I thought it would just be nice to switch it up. But it all ties into this week's episode of embracing endings and new beginnings. I think especially with, us stepping into the new year, a new season, a new, chapter in our life, it's important to kind of touch on the importance of embracing new beginnings, but also endings, whether it's relationships, careers, certain environments, whatever it may be, just so we can have some encouragement and clarity stepping into these seasons and navigating these type of things, So let's get into it. The first thing, I don't know if you guys can realize, I definitely did cut my hair. So that's embracing a new beginning in an ending, because I was planning on growing my hair out, maybe trying braids and all that stuff, but it was just getting too much, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to let it go. So I had to embrace the ending of the long hair, or the longer hair, and the new beginning of the shorter hair, even though in a couple of weeks it will probably be at that same length because that's how my hair grows, but we're embracing it. I felt like it was just that time, and I kind of like it, so I'm not tripping. But the first thing we're going to talk about is how change is inevitable, but growth is optional. Right? Change is inevitable, but growth is optional. Change is a part of life we cannot avoid. While it may bring uncertainty, it also brings opportunities to transform and personal growth. That's beautiful. It absolutely does. And before I keep going on this, I want to touch on the change is inevitable, growth is optional. It's inevitable that things are going to change in your life, right? The external world is constantly changing. But growing through that is optional, because if you don't have the right perspective of change and you try to kind of latch on to everything that comes into your life and you're not willing to let go and you kind of resist, you're actually stopping yourself from growing through those things, right? And that's what it means by change is inevitable, but growth is optional. And, if you have the right perspective on change and you have the right mindset and the right lens through those seasons, then you'll understand that there's opportunity in all of it. There's so much possibility for you when seasons of change are coming. When you have to step into something new or let go of something old, there is so much opportunity and possibility in that. And that's what allows you to grow through it rather than resisting the change because you want to stay attached to the comfort of what's known. And this is the crazy thing about that. I've realized that sometimes it's not even about staying attached to things that feel good. Maybe like the place we're at doesn't even feel that good, and it does bring a certain sense of pain or frustration. But because we're unwilling to let go and step into uncertainty, we'd rather stay in what's known, even if what's known is bringing us pain or heartbreak or inner turmoil, and that to me is where you got to really make that decision for yourself and have a certain level of inner dialogue to say, listen, yes, it's hard to step into the unknown. Yes, it's hard to let go of things that are known to us, but there's nothing more painful than staying somewhere that you don't belong. There is nothing more painful than staying somewhere than you don't belong. With change, you have to understand that a lot of times change will bring fear. Right? Change will bring fear of the unknown. But understand that fear of the unknown is natural and it does not have to control you. I think a lot of times when people want to take those leaps or they want to start embracing change or stepping into the unknown and that fear comes up, they feel like it's a negative thing. They feel like it's a bad thing, like they shouldn't feel that way. You have to reframe that and understand that you feeling that way is just a natural part of the process of stepping into uncertainty, right? But you don't have to allow that feeling and that emotion to control and dictate what you do, right? That's the trap, right? A lot of people, when they feel the fear, it makes them resort back or stay stuck in a position that they don't need to be in or in an environment or relationship that is not serving them anymore, right? And that's where you have to take control of the emotion and say, listen, I do feel the fear. And I know it is a little scary to step into uncertainty and to embrace this change. But I'm going to do it because I understand that It is a part of growth. It's a part of my personal development, right? And we're going to take every situation with a grain of salt because you have no idea what's on the other side of that uncertainty. But I can promise you this. It's nothing negative. It's nothing bad. When you really embrace it with the positive mindset, the right perspective, right? I promise you what's on the other side of that uncertainty is blessings, opportunities, lessons, more growth, more healthy relationships. But you have to be willing to embrace that first, right? You'll never get the excitement of the roller coaster if you never get on the roller coaster, right? You'll never get the excitement of the roller coaster ride if you never step foot on the roller coaster. So that roller coaster is that uncertainty, right? But there's so much for you when you step into that uncertainty. I promise. One thing that's really helpful is reflecting on moments of past change and how they helped shape you into who you are today. Think about your past, experiences, your journey before, and think about all the times where you had to embrace change and where it turned out to be an amazing, amazing thing for you, right? Think about all the times where you were scared to step into uncertainty, but you did, and there were blessings and opportunities on the other side. Use what you've been through to help get you what you're going through, right? Use what you have been through to help get you through what you're going through, right? Reflecting is such a helpful thing, especially when you're trying to move forward and embrace new things. Reflect on times where you had to do that in the past and realize how you made it through those times. And you can do the same with this, right? You can do the same with this, right? And this is a prime example of a lot of times it's not about removing the emotions as a whole. A lot of times people want the fear or the anxiety or the feelings of uncertainty to go away. It's not about removing the emotions, removing the feelings. It's about learning how to embrace them. It's about changing your relationship and perspective to them so that when they do come up later down the road, you're not so quick to resort back. You're not so quick to try to run away from them. No, you embrace them for what they are. You embrace them for what they are. That's it. It says, understand that resisting change often leads to more pain than accepting it. That's so true. Our wanting or our desire to resist change or our resistance to change often causes way more pain in the long run than actually just embracing the change, right? And like I said in previous episodes before, our ego wants to do everything to stay comfortable. So it's going to fight you, and that's what that resistance is. But you have to resist the resistance. You have to resist the resistance. You have to resist yourself from falling into the trap of trying to run away from change or resist change, and just let that process happen organically and naturally, right? Our job is just to stay present and make the most out of the moment we have. The change is going to happen. Like we said, change is inevitable. It is going to happen. So don't spend all your energy fighting the change. Just take that energy and focus on making the most out of this moment. And that's going to allow you to gracefully grow through the change and step into uncertainty and step into those blessings and new relationships and new environments and new careers and new endeavors, right? Because you're taking all that energy that was once used to fight the change, to fight stepping into uncertainty. You're taking all that and focusing on making the most out of this moment and trusting that good things are coming and everything will be okay. Everything will be okay, right? Everything will be okay. It says cultivating a growth mindset helps you approach change with curiosity instead of fear. That's so true. When you start understanding that there is so much growth, opportunity, and possibility with change, right, and stepping into uncertainty, you start embracing it with curiosity. Even though you might still have the emotions of fear and be a little scared, you get curious for what's on the other side of that, rather than having such a negative perception of fear. And when it comes up, it makes you run away. It makes you feel like there's something bad in front of you, but it's not. It's not. It's just the inner discomfort of you having to step into uncertainty, but embrace it with curiosity. Embrace it with curiosity. Embrace it with an open mindset. Embrace it with a grain of salt. And I promise you, what you will find is just beautiful things. It's beautiful things. It really is. It's beautiful things, right? I'm thinking of my life, right now, stepping into this new season, this new year, and just trying to figure out kind of the next chapter of my life. Obviously we have certain things going on, but like I said, you're always evolving, you're always growing. Even the next chapter with WAGOS and how I want to approach that, and with me and my business partner Adrian, we've been thinking of that and really just embracing this next chapter of the brand and the podcast and figuring out, what we want to do with that. And that does bring uncertainty. But rather than allowing fear or the resistance to stop me, no, I'm going to embrace it with curiosity, because I know what's on the other side of that uncertainty are blessings, opportunity, and more growth. And I'm excited for that. And a lot of times when you embrace change with curiosity, that's where you get, you get surprised by life, right? You get surprised by life on what's on the other side of that. You get surprised to see how things unfold. And that is a beautiful, beautiful thing, right? It's a beautiful thing. But a lot of times, because we have such a negative perception of uncertainty and we allow fear to be a driving force backwards, we never get to see the beautiful, beautiful work of life through uncertainty. We never get to see that. We never get to see that. It says, embrace change as a pathway to uncover hidden strengths and potentials. This is beautiful. If you want to become the best version of yourself, if you want to really unpack everything that you have within yourself, you have to embrace change. You have to embrace uncertainty, because that's what's going to allow you to unpack those things. If you stay in the comfort of where you've been, you're going to keep getting what you've got. So if you want to unpack more, you have to be willing to step into more, which means stepping into change, stepping into uncertainty, not resisting the flow, right? You have to be willing to do that. It's not easy, but we don't want easy. I'm going to always reiterate this. We don't want easy. We want growth. And we understand that growth sometimes is not easy. Growth sometimes is very uncertain. Growth sometimes is very scary. But we're going to embrace it with the right perspective and the right mindset. And we're going to take it one step at a time, one day at a time. And I promise you're going to be able to uncover hidden strengths, hidden gems within yourself, hidden potential. And it's going to be a beautiful thing when you get to unpack that and shine that light onto the world, onto the people around you, right? It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Alan Watts says, I don't know how many of y'all know who Alan Watts is, but he is I think RIP to Alan Watts. He did pass away, but he's a spiritual teacher from back in the day. But he said the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Plunge into change, right? When change comes, we're going to jump into it. We're not going to run from it. When change comes, we're going to jump into it. We're not going to run from it. And we're going to learn how to dance with change rather than fight change. Learn how to dance with change rather than fight change. And when you start dancing with change, that's where the growth comes. That's where the unexpected opportunities come, right? That's where the healthy relationships that you could have never imagined come, because you were willing to dance with the flow of change rather than resist it. And understand that change is inevitable. So you're either dancing with it, going with it, or you're resisting and fighting it. But change is happening. It's going to happen regardless in your life, I promise you. So understanding it's inevitable, I say, why not learn how to work with it rather than work against it? Because that gives us a lot more inner peace. That gives us a lot more peace of mind, right? And so point number 2 in embracing endings and new beginnings is something we have a whole podcast on, and that's letting go of the old to make room for the new. The only way to embrace new beginnings is to first be willing to embrace an ending. And what does embracing an ending mean? It means being willing to let go of a person, of a situation, of relationships, of environments, in order to step into the new beginning. And a beautiful thing to understand is that every ending is a new beginning. Every ending is a new beginning. So, yes, reflect and sometimes feel the ending, but understand that there is a new beginning literally on the other end of that ending. And that's a beautiful thing. Every time a chapter ends, a new one begins, right? And with the right perspective, with the optimistic perspective, with the growth mindset, you get excited to see what that new chapter has rather than trying to cling to the old chapter. We've already read that. We've already been there. We've already experienced it. And now it's the end of that chapter. It's time to let it go, my friend. It's time to let it go, my brothers and sisters. It is time to shut that chapter, turn the page, and start a new one, right? And start a new one. And I know it's hard to do that because a lot of times we go through certain chapters and we attach ourselves, like we say, to all the things in that chapter, people, places, things, environments, jobs, whatever it may be. And in order to close that chapter and start a new one, sometimes it means letting go of those things. And a lot of us aren't willing to do that, right? And I know I've experienced that with my life, where I was literally keeping myself from growing because I was staying stuck in relationships or environments or situations of the past or of the last chapter, right? And it was just stopping me from embracing a new chapter, you know? And I think, you know, I saw, I got a few DMs these past few weeks about, you know, dealing with heartbreak, relationships ending and trying to navigate those emotions and stuff. And I think it's important to understand that heartbreak is natural. Everybody's going to experience heartbreak. And you have to understand this about relationships. Not every relationship is meant to be in your life long term. Even intimate relationships. Sometimes you're going to go through certain relationships with people in order to gain a certain depth about yourself, a new perspective, some lessons, and then that's it. You guys gotta separate. But a lot of times, because we go into these relationships with the wrong posture internally, we immediately attach ourselves emotionally to these people, right? We immediately attach a certain part of our identity to this relationship. So now when it's time to let go, rather than looking at it as a lesson and a time for reflection and an opportunity for growth, because letting go is also an opportunity for growth for both people. Instead of looking at it like that, we look at it as we're losing a part of ourselves. We look at it as if we lose this person or this relationship, our value as an individual is going to go down. It's false. That's false. We judge the future of our well-being off of how bad we feel in the moment, right? That heartbreak is so strong that we think if we let go of this relationship and have to sit in this feeling for too long, we're not going to make it through. That's false. This too shall pass. That feeling of heartbreak, right? That feeling of grief, that feeling of loss, this too shall pass. But remember, in order to heal, you must be first willing to feel. So you have to be willing to feel those emotions and understand that through feeling it, that's where the growth comes. That's where the lessons come, right? And that's where the stepping into the new chapter comes. So I just wanted to make that point because I know a lot of people might be going through, you know, ending of relationships, and that's not an easy thing and that's not an easy thing to navigate. But understand you can do it. You absolutely can do it. This is the importance of self-reflection and making sure that you're always having an inner audit of your life, right? You need to identify what no longer aligns with your current values and aspirations. As you change, so do your values and aspirations, right? And you have to be able to have real self-reflection and really take the aerial view of your life and make sure that you start to look at the things that no longer serve or align with where you're trying to go, and you have the ability and self-respect and self-love to let those things go. It's not easy, but you have to do that, right? And a lot of people don't want to take time to reflect because they don't want to see. They don't want to have to do what they feel like they're going to see. They don't want to let go of the things that they're going to see, right? When you really reflect on your life, things are going to come up that you know you should not be doing or you should be letting go of. And a lot of times we don't want to reflect because we don't want to have to face those things. I've been there before, man. There was a time I remember where, you know, I knew I was doing certain things that no longer served me or no longer aligned where I was trying to go. But I just didn't want to have to face those things. I didn't want to have to accept that reality. So I just kept making excuses for why I was doing okay and why these things were okay to be in my life. That's a dangerous game because a lot of times you will excuse yourself out of growth and excuse yourself right into more pain. You will do that. So make sure that, you know, you're keeping it real with yourself and you're having the ability to reflect on your life and you're not falling into the trap of always trying to make excuses for the things that you know should not be in your life, right? Awareness. Honor and express gratitude for past experiences. They helped you grow. Especially for relationships. Although a relationship may be coming to an end, right? And it may, bring some pain and heartbreak. Let's reflect and bring gratitude to that relationship, because even though it's ending, it still brought us growth. It still brought us lessons. It still brought us more knowledge of self. It brought us understanding certain things that we need to work on. And that's a beautiful thing, right? So let's focus more on that rather than all the things that you feel like you're losing just because of the feeling and emotions of grief and heartbreak. Let's reflect on the gratitude for past relationships and past experiences. And let's really start to look at the areas where we grew, right? Really ask yourself, how did I grow through this relationship? How did I grow through this past season, this past experience, this past job? How did I grow? And really, if you have to take a pen to paper, do that. If you want to just sit with yourself and be in your head, do that. If you want to do a voice memo, do that. Just find some way to really reflect and start to pinpoint the areas where you really grew the most, because that will allow you to have gratitude for that rather than focusing on everything that you feel like you're losing and allowing the emotions to consume you and make you feel like, if I lose this thing, I'm losing myself. No, you're not. Losing this thing is actually going to help you find yourself even more. It's going to help you grow internally even more. You're not losing yourself. I promise you're not losing yourself when you lose a relationship or you lose an environment or you lose a group of people. You are not losing yourself. You are not losing yourself. And a lot of times you find yourself even more when those things are removed from your life, right? This is why it's so important to reframe your emotions, right? Because letting go can absolutely be emotional, but you have to understand it is necessary to welcome new opportunities. You are going to be emotional when you have to let go of things that you've spent time and energy with or in, whatever it may be. You're going to be emotional. That's going to bring a lot of energy and motion within yourself, right? But a lot of times, because we have such negative perceptions and relationships with our emotions, we allow our emotions and us being emotional to make us feel like we're doing something wrong or we need to go back. That's false. Embrace those emotions. Embrace you being emotional for a little bit, understanding that I'm just feeling what I need to feel in order to step into what is for me. And what is for me, I don't know, but that's the beauty in the journey. We get to find out what's on the other side of this uncertainty. What's on the other side of letting go of what was. That's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It says release the need for control and trust that what is meant for you will come. Release the need to want to control everything and trust that what is for you will come. And I promise you it will. And a lot of times, the only thing stopping those new opportunities, those new relationships, those new endeavors from coming into our life is our unwillingness to let go of what was or what is, right? And you have to be willing to do that and understand every time you let go, you create space for the right things to come in, right? Things come into your life and they have a certain timeline that they're meant to be in your life, and it's not lifelong. But our ego wants things, our ego attaches ourselves to those things, and because we're attached to them, we feel like we can never let them go. But that attachment is just stopping you from more connection, right? That attachment to what is or what was is stopping you from more connection to what's coming. And you have to be willing to let go of that attachment. It's not easy at all. But the first start of letting go of the first step to letting go of an attachment is realizing you have the attachment. A lot of people, like I said, make excuses and say, nah, that ain't it. Nah, that's not the reality of the situation. You have to first be aware and then have the courage to really feel, really feel those emotions and what's going on. And that's going to help you to release the attachment. A lot of times we have attachments because we're not willing to feel what we'll have to feel when we let go, right? So we just stay attached because it's comfortable. Even though we don't like the feeling maybe of what we're attached to, at least we know what to expect, right? So I don't want to step into that uncertainty. I don't want to have to feel what's on the other side of that. But the longer you hold on to that attachment, the longer you're unwilling to let go, the longer you're prolonging your growth, the longer you're prolonging more opportunities, more blessings, more healthy relationships, right? So always remember that, right? Always remember that, because that helps me a lot to let go of things, even when I don't want to. Understand, if you don't let go, you're just stopping what is actually for you to come in, right? And every time I let go, I am just creating more room and more space for the right things to come in. Those are conversations I'm having with myself when I need to let go or step into a new season or step out of old ways or whatever it may be, or old groups of people. Understand you're creating room and space for the right things to come in. This is fire. This is fire. Buddha says, you can only lose what you cling to. Whoo! When you stop attaching yourself to things and you start connecting yourself to things, it never feels like a loss. It never feels like a loss when that thing has to be removed from your life. It never feels like a loss. It feels like a blessing. It feels like a lesson. And it feels like an opportunity. But when you cling to these things, you attach yourself to all these things. When it's time for those things to be removed from your life, you feel like you're losing something. You feel like you're losing a part of yourself. You feel like you're losing an connection, which is really just disguised as an attachment. You feel like you're losing a part of your identity, right? You feel like you're losing the best thing for you, but it's not true. That's just your ego wanting to stay attached. That's your inner child wanting to stay attached, wanting to hold on to all these things like little kids do, until you teach a kid, hey, you got to let go of that thing. You got to give me that thing, and I promise you what is coming is better. And then when they see what they get from letting go, that's when they trust you, right? That's when your ego starts to trust in you. When you decide to let go and not allow your ego to keep you attached, and then it sees what has come in, your ego starts to trust you. Your inner child starts to trust you more, right? And that's when it turns more to excitement than fear, right? That's when you have more excitement for uncertainty and letting go than fear, right? To let go does not mean to get rid of. It means to let be. That's so true. Understand that when you let go, you're letting things be as they're supposed to be. And that includes people. This is a lot of times we don't realize that we're doing more harm than helping when we don't let go of relationships, right? We think that us staying in this relationship is actually what's best for both parties, but it's false. A lot of times letting go is what's best for both parties, even though it's going to bring pain and heartbreak and grief, right? And a lot of different emotions. Understand that is what's best. And usually what is best does not feel the best in the moment. But a lot of times we correlate what feels good in the moment with what's best for us. So what feels good a lot of times in relationships when they're coming to an end is just to neglect not letting go and staying together. But usually what's best is letting go. And that letting go, that stepping away from each other is not easy. That is painful, right? It is uncomfortable. But like we said, usually what's best is going to be uncomfortable in the moment. Usually what's best isn't going to be the easiest decision in the moment. But you have to trust that this pain I am feeling in the moment is serving a greater purpose, right? And that's usually what it is. You know, it's like going to the gym and tearing your muscle fibers. That pain you're feeling in the moment where you're tearing your muscle fibers, right, is leading to the growth that you want to see. So that pain of heartbreak from having to step away from a relationship is actually leading to the love that you'll be able to step into later, the love that you truly desire, the relationships that you truly desire. But a lot of times, in order for your heart to open up even more and create space for the right people to come in, it has to be broken, right? It has to be broken. But that breaking down phase is not, it's not a beat down. It's not like you should feel a lack of self-worth or you should feel like you're being destroyed by life. No. You are just being curated in a way that's going to allow you to step into the relationships and opportunities and people and environments that are for you. But a lot of times, in order to step into what is for us, we have to go through those seasons of breakdown. Because the breakdown is what allows us to have the breakthrough. The breakdown is what allows us to have the breakthrough. So when you're in a season feeling like everything around you is breaking down, understand that's usually preparation for the breakthrough. Man, I feel like this relationship is breaking down. That's usually a sign that you're about to step into a breakthrough. And what is that breakthrough? A healthier relationship, a more aligned relationship, right? Because usually when it's time for us to step out of old ways or out of old environments or old relationships and step into new ones, the thing that's going to get us to realize that we need to let go is the breakdown, right? Is the relationship breaking down and it not really feeling aligned anymore, or the environment or job not really feeling aligned anymore. And that is when we get the intuition that, hey, maybe this isn't it. But what most people do is they feel that, they hear that intuition, and they neglect it and say, nah, I got to stay. I can't let go. But what's more painful? What is more painful? Stepping into the uncertainty and allowing that breakdown process to happen, or fighting the breakdown process and trying to stay stuck in a place that you have outgrown, that no longer aligns with you? Which one is really going to be more painful in the long term, right? Which one is going to be more painful in the long term? The beautiful journey of today can only begin when we learn to let go of yesterday. That is beautiful. If you're still stuck in yesterday, you'll never be able to fully embrace today, right? And you could take that on a larger scale and larger perspective when it comes to relationships and environments and stuff. A lot of times we get so stuck in relationships of the past that it keeps us from really embracing and optimizing what we have in the present. You have to be willing to let go of yesterday in order to embrace today, because today has new opportunities. Today has new blessings. Today has new relationships, right? Be grateful for yesterday. Reflect and learn from yesterday, right? Have gratitude for what you went through, but embrace what is. Have excitement for what is. Have excitement for the uncertainty of today. Be curious. Be childlike in thinking, but don't be childish. Childish means attaching yourself to everything that you go through and staying stuck in the past. Childlike in thinking means I'm going to let go of the past, but I'm going to be curious about today. Even though I may not know what today brings, I'm curious and I'm excited because I know today has opportunities and blessings in it and lessons in it. And that's a beautiful perspective. It's a beautiful way to think. It's a beautiful way to grow. It's a beautiful way to grow. I'm really looking at my hair, man. I really cut my hair off. I like it, though. I really cut my hair off, y'all. I said, you know what? I'm stepping into change. It was a last-minute decision, too. Like, I was not planning on doing that, but I picked my hair out, and it was really long, and I was like, I'm letting it go. It's that time. I'm embracing this ending, and I'm stepping into a new beginning. I'm stepping into a new beginning. Come on now. Come on. Number 3 says adapting to new circumstances. This is everything. You need to have the ability to adapt. A lot of people do not have the ability to adapt to the flow of life, to change, to uncertainty, right? Adaptability is what's going to allow you to constantly step into what is for you. A lot of us are not willing to adapt because we don't like the discomfort. Because adapting brings discomfort. They go hand in hand. In order to adapt, you have to be able to shift. You have to be able to pivot. And sometimes that is not easy, and it is uncomfortable. But understand it's an opportunity. Like everything else we talk about on this podcast, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. It says adaptability allows you to turn challenges into opportunities, helping you thrive even in the most uncertain of times. That's a fact. Adapting helps you thrive. Resisting keeps you stuck. I was trying to find a word that rhymed with thrive, but I couldn't. So we're just going to go with it keeps you stuck, right? But most people, because they don't adapt, they can't thrive. But when you adapt, you best believe you are thriving through the uncertainty. One of the reasons why a lot of people can't adapt to the change of their life and the flow of life is because they get stuck in ways of thinking or ways of being, right? And that's why it's so important to always cultivate a posture of open-mindedness. Always take life with a grain of salt and stay open. Because if you become stuck in a way of thinking or a way of seeing life or a way of living, it's gonna cause so much resistance when change tries to come. It's gonna make you unwilling to adapt and pivot, right? And you see it all the time. If you really look at, especially, older generations, a lot of people are stuck in their old ways of thinking and old ways of being. And that's what causes so much turmoil in society, because some people are just not willing to change. Some people are not willing to innovate or evolve. And it's like, bro, we cannot stay stuck in the 70s and 80s and 90s. We got to keep on moving decade after decade, right? And I'm not saying we need to constantly rush and try to, no, but we need to be willing to innovate and move with the flow of life. We need to be willing to evolve as individuals and as a society. And what stops our evolution is people being stuck in old ways of thinking and old ways of being. Old ways of thinking and old ways of being. As you grow as an individual, so will your perspectives and your mindsets and what you do on an everyday basis, right? But so what happens is usually we reach a certain point, 20s and 30s, and we feel like we figured life out. We don't need to change. We're good here. And all you're doing is stopping yourself from growing, right? All you're doing is stopping yourself from growing, and you're also negatively affecting the people around you, because if people around you are trying to grow but you're stuck in your old ways of thinking and old ways of being, there's going to be a lot of friction between y'all. Think about parents and kids, right? A lot of times kids get to a certain age and they want to keep growing or evolving or whatever it is, but because their parents are so stuck in their ways, they don't allow their kids to do that. They don't allow their kids to do that. And that happens in every area of society. So if you want to adapt, you have to first be willing to adapt an open mindset and cultivate an open mindset all the way through life. Some of my best mentors that I have in my life, right? Some of my most impactful mentors that I have in my life, 50, 60 years old, still have open minds today. And that's why I gravitate so much to them, because we can sit down, and yes, I'm going to them for advice and mentorship, but they will genuinely listen to what I have to say too, right? And I'm 30, 40 years younger than them, but they genuinely will sit there and listen to what I have to say, because they're open-minded and they understand that you can learn from everybody, whether they're older, younger, different sex, different ethnicity, different religion. You can learn from everybody. And that's what cultivating an open mindset helps you to do, right? It helps you to do that. So, and if you don't have an open mindset, it's going to be incredibly difficult to embrace endings and embrace new beginnings, right? Because that is one of the things that allows you to embrace those things. Having an open mind, understanding that, hey, maybe I don't understand why this is happening, but I'm going to be open to seeing what's on the other side of it. I'm going to be open to the understanding that I can get by stepping into it. That's a beautiful thing to know. It's a beautiful thing to know. Intelligence is the ability to adapt to change. A very good measure of somebody's intelligence is how open-minded they are. What is their ability to adapt to change? That is a great measure of somebody's intelligence, right? We fall into this trap into society of thinking intelligence is only one thing. It's singular. How well you can do in academics. False. I've met some very, very academically intelligent people who are closed-minded. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good on that, bro. That's cool that you could do all this research and stuff like that, but you're not open-minded, bruh. That's true intelligence. Because in order to even be intelligent and really learn something, you have to be open-minded. You have to be open to new ideas and new ways of thinking, new books, new studies, right? New cultures. You have to be open in order to gain that intelligence. You know what I mean? Obviously, some people are naturally born with certain things, but in order to cultivate that, you got to be open-minded. You got to be open-minded, right? So in your journey of, wanting to be the best version of yourself, of wanting to pursue the highest level of yourself, you have to cultivate open-mindedness. Do not ever reach a certain point in your journey where you feel like you have figured it out. This life isn't about figuring anything out. This life is about constantly growing and evolving and learning new things and staying open. Because when you stay open, life will bring you everything that you need to know, everything that you need for that season. But you got to stay open. And some seasons are easier than others. You got to stay open through all seasons. Don't allow the difficulty of a season to close you off, right? And stop you from being open. Because that's what a lot of times, that's what happens, right? When we go through seasons of discomfort, seasons of heartbreak, seasons of frustration, we close off because of those emotions, right? We close off. We close our heart. And we want to protect ourselves. And we want to try to resist these emotions and stuff like that. You got to stay open to everything, even the things that don't feel good. You have to be open to it. You have to be open to it, right? Don't just be open to things that feel good, because usually the things that bring you the most growth, the most opportunity, the most evolution are the things that don't feel the best in the moment. Be open to it all, my friend. Be open to it all. It says, it is not the strongest or most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage change. Charles Darwin. That's beautiful. The people who will survive are the people who can adapt. The people who can have an open mind. Not the people who are necessarily the most book smart or the most intelligent or the smartest or the strongest. No. If you don't have the ability to adapt and change, you won't survive, right? Now, I'm not talking about literally like you won't survive like this is Hunger Games. I'm just talking about with the flow and evolution of your journey and where we're going as a society, man. Like we're being very, we're innovating every day. Technology is advancing. We're moving in a forward direction. You have to be open, right? I'm not saying you got to fall trapped to thinking that all these things are needed, right? You don't need all these things, but you have to stay open-minded in order to flow with life rather than against it. I hope that makes sense. Number 4 says viewing new beginnings as opportunities for growth, right? We touched on this at the beginning, but it's so true. Every beginning is a chance to realign with your authentic self and embark on a new journey of self-discovery. That is so beautiful. Every new beginning is an opportunity for more growth, for more self-discovery, for more lessons and opportunities and blessings, right? And that's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. It says, shift your mindset to see beginnings as a blank slate, not a daunting challenge. That is beautiful. We have a blank canvas in front of us when we step into new beginnings. And the beautiful thing about that is you're a creator and you get to create. It's not about having control over everything, but it's about tapping into your creativity and moving in a way that creates the life that you want to live, that creates a picture that you want to paint, that you want to be a part of, right? And that's what new beginnings allow for us to do. It allows for us to step into our creativity. It allows for us to trust in something greater than ourselves. It allows for us to collaborate with God and create a life that is aligned with our authentic, highest self. That's a beautiful thing. It says use this time to reevaluate your goals and set intentions aligned with your values. That's so good. Whenever you're stepping out of something and stepping into a new beginning, use it as a time for reflection, as a time for realignment, as a time for goal setting, right? Vision building. Use it as a time to for an inner audit, right? An inner audit, right? Get clear on your intentions, get clear on your values, get clear on what you want to step into, what type of emotions and things that you want to experience in this new season. It's not about being so specific on it has to be like this, but no, get clear on the intentions and the feelings and the things you want to experience in this new season, in this new beginning, right? And that's a beautiful time for that. Accept that discomfort is part of starting fresh and necessary for growth. You have to accept that. Accept that when you step into a new beginning, you will be faced with discomfort. I promise you. When you first step into going to the gym for the first time, you're going to be faced with discomfort. When you step into a new relationship and you have to really work on getting to know somebody and building that commitment, you're going to be faced with discomfort, right? When you step into a new career or a new job, and you got to navigate those first few weeks of trying to figure things out, you're going to be faced with discomfort. Accept the discomfort as part of the growth. It's not the opposite of growth. It's a part of the growth. Discomfort equals growth. Keep that in your mind. Discomfort equals growth. So now I'm feeling uncomfortable, which means I'm growing. I'm feeling uncomfortable, which means I have an opportunity for growth. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Every day is a chance to begin again. Don't focus on the failures of yesterday. Start today with positive thoughts and expectations. Catherine Pulsifer. I like that. Every day is a new opportunity. It really is, right? Prime example. This past week for me was extremely hectic and disorganized. Very. Like, I was all over the place. I was overthinking. My routine wasn't as strict. I wasn't going to bed at the right. It was just a lot of, you know what I mean? And those things compound. And it's like, yo. One thing that always helps me is just taking a breath, right? When I wake up the next day, taking a breath and understanding that this day is a new day. I don't need to allow my past, 2, 3, 4 days or weeks to trickle over into today, or yesterday to trickle over into today. Today is a new day, and I have an opportunity to get right back on track, to take steps in the direction that is aligned, right? And when you take that mindset, it helps you so much to gracefully get through those times where it may be hectic, or maybe you're off your routine a little bit, or maybe you feel a little bit misaligned, right? Rather than allowing this past week to trickle over into today's podcast episode and making me feel like, I'm just not doing, or I just wasn't whoa. We have a beautiful opportunity right now to get right back on track. This really started yesterday, right? Went to the gym, had an amazing workout, got a nice run in on the treadmill, really gathered myself. I really focused on my night routine, right? I cooked, I stretched, gave myself a haircut, had to get right? I did laundry, right? I really got myself together. I meditated a little bit, and that came right into this morning, right? I woke up and I felt a lot more clear, and I had a lot more clarity within myself, right? Just a lot more peace, right? Just because I took time to really prioritize getting back on track. And I'm going to do the same today, and I trickle over in today. Today's another new opportunity to keep taking steps in the right direction. It's a beautiful thing. And that's what new beginnings bring. They bring opportunities for alignment. They bring opportunities to really, really take steps in the right direction, right? They bring opportunities of not allowing your past to dictate your future. Come on. It's a beautiful thing. A lot of times with new beginnings, the reason we resist them so much is because we're waiting for conditions to be perfect. Don't wait until conditions are perfect to begin. Understand that beginning are what make the conditions perfect. I don't even got to say too much more on that. I'm going to move right to this next one because I love Lao Tzu. That's his name, Lao Tzu. He's a old Eastern teacher, spiritual teacher. New beginnings are often disguised as painful endings. That is so true. So often, when you have to step out of a relationship or step out of an old environment or, a group of people, whatever it may be, and it's incredibly painful. Understand the reason it's so painful is because what you're about to step into is so beautiful and prosperous. And that is why the pain feels so great, right? But it is preparing you. That pain is preparing you for the prosperity. That pain is preparing you for the prosperity. And the greater the pain, usually the greater the prosperity. So get excited. Embrace the pain, right? Feel the pain, right? Really, really navigate the pain and take it one day at a time, one moment at a time. But understand that on the other end of this pain is an abundance of prosperity. It's a healthier relationship. It's a aligned career, right? It's a very uplifting and positive environment. Get excited, right? Get excited. Embrace it, but get excited. Embrace it, but get excited. You feel me? Embrace it, but get excited. And 5, let's talk about some daily practices to embrace change positively, right? Incorporating small intentional habits can help you to stay resilient and optimistic during periods of change. Absolutely. You need to have things for your day-to-day that help you to stay present and optimistic. So when change comes, it doesn't feel like this great mountain. No. We're going to stay consistent on the things that help us stay grounded, and we're going to embrace this change one day at a time. One day at a time. Begin your day with a gratitude practice to center yourself in positivity, right? For me, I'm not perfect at this, but I really try to start every day with just focusing on, a few things that I'm grateful for. Man, I'm grateful I have another day to wake up. I'm grateful that I get to walk into this shower. I'm grateful that I have a bed. I'm grateful I have a room, right? I'm grateful I have a house to sleep in. Like those type of things. You're just grateful. I'm grateful that I have another opportunity to grow. Come on. Just start your day off with that. And it could be you writing things down. It could be you just saying it out loud. It could be you just meditating on it. Whatever you need to do, just start your day off with some gratitude, right? Start your day off with some gratitude and journal, especially when you're going through seasons of change, right? Stepping out of the old into the new, journal it. It really helps. Journaling really, really helps. All right, it really helps you to see all the confusion that's in here on a piece of paper and gain clarity. It helps you a lot. It helps you to have your own back, right? To be there for yourself. It really does help. It really does help. Maintaining physical activity. A lot of times I saw this past week. I went like 2 days without working out because of how hectic everything was, and I realized how important physical activity was for me, because something that usually happens when life starts to get a little stressful or over-consuming or just overbearing, it starts to take from the things that really help us the most. It starts to make us forget how needed certain things are in our life to help us stay grounded, right? Oh, I'm so stressed, man. I just need to go to sleep. I just need to rest. I just need to just lay up. I just need not doing it, whatever it is, right? So you don't go work out. You don't go for your walk. You don't go for your run, right? You don't do your stretching, whatever it is. But you have to really, really remind yourself in those moments that it is the stretching, it is the working out, it is the walk that helps you to release that pressure from the day-to-day life, from the journey, right? After I worked out last night, I was like, man, I'm never going 2 days without working out like this again, right? Obviously, depending on where I'm at, but if you're stressed or you're overthinking or you just have a lot on your mind, I know for me, working out it's a necessity. It's a requirement, because it's one of the things that really helps me just to get a good sweat, breathe it out, right? Get some good positive stress, right? External stress. It helps tremendously. Right? One thing, right, and the last thing I'm going to touch on is really surrounding yourself with the right people, especially when you're trying to navigate, ending a relationship or stepping out of a old environment or an old career or old, endeavor and stepping into a new one. You need to have the right people around you, because the people around you are either going to fuel the right perspective or fuel the wrong perspective, right? And a lot of times I've seen this even in relationships, right? If you're going through a heartbreak or ending a relationship, you can see how when people are around the wrong people during that time, they're just fed with toxicity and negativity, like, oh, do this or do that, or oh, F them, or it's like, it's nothing that has to do with growing and learning from what we just went through. It's all negativity, right? So make sure you're really around people who feed the change, feed the growth in a positive way, right? It's important. You need people that support you through that, not take from you and want to make you hold grudges and want to talk negative about the things that you were just experiencing or the people that you just were in relationships with. We're not doing that. Understand in the middle of every difficulty lies opportunity. As we step into new beginnings, right, we will be faced with difficulty. We will be faced with discomfort. But understand, in the midst of all that lies opportunity. And that's a beautiful thing to know. In the midst of all that lies opportunity, right? So that's how we're going to end this episode. I appreciate you guys more than you guys know, I really do. I hope every one of y'all has an amazing, amazing holiday. Whether you're on break or you're traveling, whatever it is, stay safe. Do what you guys got to do. And remember, most importantly, to take everything with a grain of salt. And have an amazing new year. I think I should have another episode before the new year. I'm not sure, but we shall see. Have an amazing new year. Continue to take it one day at a time, one step at a time. And there we go, dropping the pen. Again. All right, love y'all, appreciate y'all. I will catch you guys next week. Deuces.